Folks, we're also live on Facebook and YouTube.
Yo, we're gonna turn this thing on or what, man? I'm just like talking to myself here.
Hey, Jenny, whenever you guys are ready on site.
Doing okay. We got 55 people in the room here.
Type A team. Yeah, type A team, we need to start.
Yeah, so if you have anybody who's interested in cross-border stuff, please ping them in.
Naman or somebody, tell me when you turn the Zoom live onto the thing, okay?
Zoom live is on, William.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
We're actually live on YouTube and Facebook.
Okay, rock and roll. So the interesting thing about running these events is
close to the staircase.
I actually saw William. Say hi.
Yes, yes. Okay, over there. We're about to start.
Matthias. Und dann So other than that, I must probably enter as forms. You will have all these names suggested and maybe it doesn't make sense.
Hey guys sitting on the right side, would you mind to move over there? There's a better view over there. Thank you. So feel free to grab a drink, some soda waters. Yes, sit on the VIP. You all are VIPs.
You haven't signed any drinks for us. Jenny.
Guys, the Zoom, we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
asking you specifically, Jenny. We haven't received any drinks for the.
Yes, it's actually TTA. William is in fact outside TTA. Okay, so welcome to our second happy hour of 2021. We're excited that we're going to start our biannual VC panels today. And we invited a special hybrid of our speakers. We have Secret on site, and Retno is online, and along with our very own William outside TTA to keep you guys safe and healthy. So this is why he's doing outside. So we start with a quick intro by William, and then we have our MOX 10 company do a quick pitches about themselves, and then we jump into the panel. William?
Hey guys, welcome. We are MOX, part of the SOSV. We are in a VC with now 850 under management. Back in the day when we first launched MOX in Taiwan 5 years ago, we were the first international VC to come into Taiwan and land here in Taipei without government support, as far as I know. Now, obviously, you can see my background at Taipei Tech Arena. We do have government support now. And Taipei has done an amazing job. Taiwan does an amazing job on controlling the pandemic. So we're in person in the office behind me, but I can't be there because I did my 14 days quarantine, but there's an extra 7 where I can't enter, public spaces and government buildings. Just to give a brief intro, we are a fund, a VC fund, 850 under management, and that's up from around 200 million when we launched MOX a little over 5 years ago. We are a bit different than most VCs in that we're global. So MOX companies come from all around the world, but there's a very heavy focus on Asia. We're also different because we invest in multiple different verticals. So we invest in hardware with our Hacks platform, the most active investor in hardware in the world, and also IoT and robotics. We invest in biotech with IndieBio. So a recent New York Times article just came out this last week by a guy named Joel Klein, and they mentioned 5 cellular agriculture companies, meat that's grown from stem cells and culture. And actually, they mentioned 7 companies, and he had a dinner party with his wife and daughter in New York because they're all locked down. But 5 of the 7 companies that he featured in the article went through our IndieBio programs, and they're in San Francisco and New York. And then the third vertical is cross-border internet and software. So thank you for joining us here tonight. Well, it's tonight where I am, morning, afternoon, depending on where you are. But what we focus on is helping companies from around the world, including Asia, scale. So expand into Asia. So how do we do that? Well, we partner with everybody who's getting hit by big internet. We partner with telcos, We partner with banks. We partner with retail chains. We partner with newspapers and even online and offline media. And in return for them giving us free advertising, we give them revenue share. Okay, so think about it like a super app in a box. We enable anybody to be a super app. And for the first 3.5 years, it was pretty tough. Nobody wanted to give us free advertising. But it took us 3.5 years from 2014 when we launched, 2015 when we launched, to get to 6 million monthly active users. But over the 12 months between mid 2019 and mid 2020, we did, things started to really take off. So we went from 6 million monthly active users among our MOX apps to 50 million monthly active users. And if you tune into our demo day next Wednesday afternoon Asia time, we'll give you an update on what's happened just since last August, since our last MOX demo day, where we'll present 7 amazing companies. They'll present themselves, 7 amazing companies who are taking Asia by storm. So with that, thank you very much for tuning in. Just want to say thanks to Elevate Taiwan, a new organization that popped up just recently, focused on tech leaders from all around the world who are focused on helping Taiwan elevate their tech game. So with that, I'll kick it back to you, Jenny, and we'll get started. Thank you so much for coming and joining us. We're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on Clubhouse, and we are in person in Taipei and Taipei Tech Arena.
Thank you, William. So you're going to meet our amazing MOX 10 start companies with our demo days next Wednesday. So Naaman, let's have our company introduce themselves.
Sure thing. Thank you so much, everybody. If you look at the chat section, I've just shared our lineup for the day. We're going to kick it off with BTagged, and we'll go one after another. Quick round of elevator pitches. Shamik, you ready?
Yep. Hi.
All right. Floor is yours.
Indonesia is massive. 160 million Indonesians spend over 3 hours every day on social media, which is one of the highest globally. This makes social the most engaging and effective medium in the country. But influencer marketing still accounts for less than 5% of total advertising spends, as advertisers don't have timely and reliable data and analytics. We are BTagged. We give advertisers data and deep analytics on influencers. Our influencer campaigns drive 40% higher ROI and cut time to launch by half. Our clients include Hyundai, Pizza Hut, Dettol, and Durex. I am Shamik, CEO of BTagged, and I would love some time with you to show how we are unlocking influencer marketing for brands in Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shamik. Next, we have Wallet Engine.
Hi. Many super apps have embedded digital wallets that enable users to seamlessly send, receive, and store money. Embedded wallets drive new revenue streams and user stickiness. But most apps can't put a digital wallet into their app because of different regulations in every country, high cost of developing and maintaining the countless integrations with partners in every country. We built Wallet Engine so that any app can launch an in-app wallet in less than 30 days. We combine bank-grade technology and licensed operations under one roof, and we are plugged into over 100 countries. We've already signed 19 apps with 1 million monthly active users. Let's set up a time next week, and I'll show you how we help these apps unlock the value in their user base with embedded wallets. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wallet Engine. Next, we have 24/7.
Hi. The grocery market in Pakistan is huge. Over $60 billion in groceries sold a year. But it's terribly fragmented, with 98% of sales volume from small corner shops with limited product offering. What's even worse for the consumer, there's zero traceability in the fresh food supply chain. 24/7 is a one-stop grocery e-commerce solution for consumers, just like Big Basket in India or Red Mart in Singapore. We sell over 6,000 products, including our own brand of fresh vegetables and food, and deliver the same day to consumers. Our monthly sales have grown by almost 6x year on year, crossing $120,000 last month. I'd love to set up a time with you any day next week to discuss in more detail. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gerard. That was 24/7. Next, we have Stack Finance.
In India, millennials drive most of the earnings, but 84% of them feel lost while managing money. As a millennial myself, I relate to their struggles. Having to go to different companies for each product with no personalization and aggressive sales tactics. Stack is India's first smart finance app that gives our customers a bird's eye view of your finances, a broad selection of financial products, and intelligent insights and recommendations all in one app. We just launched a couple of months back and have already hit more than 10,000 users who are using Stack app to track and manage their $50 million in assets. Would love to set up a meeting next week to show you how Stack will change the way millennials access financial products and manage their money in India.
Thank you so much, Smriti. That was Stack Finance. Next, we have Kiko.
Hi. In India, e-commerce is already 5% of total retail sales. But online consumers lose the one-on-one personal interaction with the store salesperson. And this is why live video commerce is taking off. We are Kiko, a live video commerce platform helping sellers sell online and build long-term relations with their customers. We launched 6 months ago and are already driving 200 orders per day. I am Shivam, CEO of Kiko, and I would love to have a meeting next week to discuss how live video commerce is taking off in India. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shivam. That was Kiko. Next, we have Dastagir.
There are over 2 million retailers in Pakistan, and they all face problems purchasing supply. They have to source from many wholesalers who charge high prices, and they can't get a loan.
I believe we have some technical issues with Dastagir.
Offers loans to buy now and pay later. Since we launched in August, we have 12,000 and have grown to $1 million in monthly sales. We are Dastagir, and we are reshaping how retail commerce operates in Pakistan. Let's set up a time next week, and I can show you how we are disrupting retail in Pakistan.
That was Zuhaib from Dastagir. Thank you so much. Last but not the least, we have Bistro Chat. Hasini, can you hear me? I apologize for that, ladies and gentlemen. I think that there's a technical difficulty. Jenny, I'm going to pass it on to you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was our MOX batch 10. We hope to see you next week on the 3rd of March, 2 p.m. for our master demo day to get to know more about all of these companies. Jenny, over to you.
Yeah, so just I think Haseen is back. Give him a shout out.
Yep.
Haseen.
Yes, I think it's working now, right?
Yep, you're good. Please go on. Last but not the least, ladies and gentlemen, Hasini from Bistro Chat.
The #1 communication channel today is chat. And for businesses like restaurants, it's impossible to manage. I own 2 restaurants and we receive messages for bookings, for updates, for cancellations. We receive them on all channels, on Facebook, on Instagram, on WeChat, on WhatsApp. It's a nightmare. In fact, 200 million users interact with a WhatsApp for Business account every single day. The worst part is that customers expect immediate response, otherwise the restaurant loses the business. So we created Bistro Chat, a restaurant management software for the chat age. Our AI replies to customers immediately and accurately, taking their bookings 24/7 on all channels. In the last 12 months, we were growing organically 20% month over month. And I would love to have some time with you next week to speak about how chat is invading the world and what we are doing to turn it into dollars. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jenny. Jenny, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Naaman. So let's welcome our panelists and our moderators to the stage. So we have Sikil on Taipei Arena. Sikil, please get seated. Retno, are you ready? Need to see a little bit of your face. Retno, William?
Hello.
Hey, how's it
Hi,
going?
everyone. I'm here.
Thanks. So this is an experiment. You know, we we like running experiments. I think we kind of took the lean startup book a little bit too literally. So we're trying to all at once stream an event that's in person in our Taipei MOX office in Taipei Tech Arena, as well as have Retno join us I think you're in Indonesia, last time I checked, on Zoom. Sichi is in person in Taipei, and I'm stuck outside. So I am about 200 meters from Sichi. If you, Sichi looks left out the window, he can probably see me in my little tiny circle light. Yeah, right behind you, man. And what we're here, just to reset the room, reset the stage and whatever, is to share some views on cross-border investment. It's very difficult to go cross-border these days with the pandemic, but that hasn't stopped companies from doing amazing things, and it hasn't stopped VCs from investing. We invested in 39 companies. I invested with my partner Oscar in 39 companies last year, and we actually met most of them in person. But we're planning on doing over 40 investments this year, and it's pretty unlikely that I'm going to be able to meet most of those companies. In fact, we've already done 13 deals this year, and I think I met 3 of them in the past. So we're going to kick off this panel. Really appreciate Sichi. I think Retno bounced out, so we're going to start off. Sichi, could you make sure I'm not butchering your name, and give a little introduction to the people who are joining us on Facebook, YouTube, Clubhouse, Zoom, and in person in Taipei. Thanks.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Siki. It's pronounced Tiki with an S. Yeah, really happy to be here. I got to Taiwan, I think on the 2nd of February. So it's a little past 3 weeks past my quarantine. I'm currently running a company called runway.com. We're trying to make your business financials better because most people interact with their financials in a form of a spreadsheet from their accountant. So we're funded by folks like Andreessen Horowitz and the founders of Figma and Notion, and we haven't announced that yet. And also Carta and some other folks around the valley. Before this, I was the CEO of a company called Sandbox VR, where we made holodecks around the world, also an Andreessen funded company. Before that, I was head of product and growth at a company called Postmates. We were one of the 2 largest delivery companies in the US for food delivery. I joined that through an acquisition of my second company called Hey Inc., which has a long and sad story where we're shut down by Congress, but it's an app where you can buy Justin Bieber on Twitter, in short. And before that, I was head of product for a company called Zynga. We made games like Farmville and Cityville, which I joined also through an acquisition of my first company, which was Serious Business, which was an early player in social gaming. And before that, I worked for a search engine startup called PowerSet for 6 months. That was acquired by Microsoft. And before that, I was working for NASA on the Mars Rovers project. So while I was in college, so that was probably the most fun thing I've done.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah, we're having fun. We launched the first accelerator in Asia 10 years ago, and the funny thing is we invested in a company. We're the first and only active accelerator in Asia to have a unicorn go through the program. If there's another one, please let me know. But that company is a BitMEX, which was the #1 crypto exchange in the world, and I think now we're like number 6 or number 7. But yeah, U.S. government can be a pain in the ass sometimes. So Retno, great. Thanks. Welcome back. Hopefully your connection is solid. And please introduce yourself again for people who are just joining in now. We're doing a in-person and online VC discussion coming into you live from Taipei and a bunch in 14 other cities. So Retno, please introduce yourself.
Sure. Thank you, William. Hello, everyone. My name is Retno. I'm the principal at Access Ventures. We are early stage venture capital firm headquartered in Hong Kong. I'm actually responsible to find the great startups across Southeast Asia region, especially in Indonesia and Singapore. Before Access Ventures, I worked as the Southeast Asia regional manager at Pegasus Tech Ventures. It's a Silicon Valley-based venture capital firm. I worked there since from 2015 until 2019, invested across 35 startups in Southeast Asia. One of them including Mochapost, which recently got acquired by Gojek, and then we invested in Bright Story, which also got acquired by Tokopedia, and another startups like iMoney.my, Malaysian-based startup, which got acquired by iSelect, a company from Australia. After Pegasus, I briefly joined Coca-Cola Amatil. It's one of the leading bottling company based in Sydney, but I work for the Indonesian office managing for the corporate innovation. It was an internal project. What I did there is actually working with the internal employees trying to digitize their business. And briefly after Coca-Cola Amatil, I also joined Antler, which is it's a global startup generator based in Singapore. I worked there as the regional manager for the expansion. But yeah, I worked there for about I think 7 months, and then I decided to back in the VC industry, join Access Ventures last year, and so far we've made. I did foreign investment in Indonesia and also in Singapore last year, and hopefully this year we're gonna invest more in the startups across Southeast Asia.
Awesome. So I think we're going to try and keep it free form. Everybody here has been around the block a few times, right? And the other thing is with cross border, it's not just one market, it's not just one model. Some models go cross border better than others. So again, it's Siki, is that right? Is that better? Yeah. Okay. Cool. So if you could just give a sense to everybody tuning in, and you've been in country for a month, but you've only been able to leave your quarantine hotel for the last week, give or take. So what's your impression out here? And then not just like there's a lot of tourists that come to Taiwan, right? And everybody wants to come back to Taiwan from Silicon Valley for Chinese New Year's to see their family and eat shit, but not shit, amazing, wonderful food. But you're coming back now, and part of a new and growing, well, not new, but definitely growing community of like super senior, very accomplished, talent. That has still doing amazing things, and you're here now. So I'd love to get your impressions on what's going down in Taipei these days.
Yeah, I mean, we got to start with the unavoidable, which is there is a global pandemic, and there are significant numbers of Silicon Valley people who have recently migrated here. And I think it is an active government program. They've been really, really active in the Silicon Valley community, trying to recruit as many people from the founder and investor community to Taipei, and they seem to be very successful at it. I'm part of this club called the Modernists in San Francisco. It's a lot of founders and investors, many of them Asian, and it feels like half the club is now in Taipei. There's been a recent movement in the States to make Miami sort of the new Silicon Valley. Keith Raboy from Square and PayPal is one of them. And I remember tweeting that I think Taiwan or Taipei is the sort of Asian Miami. And he was like, oh, I want to go here. Oh, it's true. But yeah, I mean, my biggest impression after getting on a plane is this is a country with basically no cases of local infection, but it acts like COVID it actually exists. So I'm thinking, yeah, no wonder we have COVID in the States. So yeah, really cool so far.
Awesome. Well, I don't want to go through the whole story, but the funny thing is that I am now based in Taipei, Shanghai, and Miami. So I think I'm going to probably turn into a meme at some point. So Retno, So you've gone through a bunch of different, great, amazing experiences. How have you seen the market change over the last 6 months or 9 months? I mean, for the first 6 months of COVID, things are pretty bad or different, or everybody's trying to get adjusted. But if you could just share a couple trends that you've seen or things that you've noticed with the portfolio companies that you're working with, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think to start, just to give everyone, like a general picture of what's happening here in Indonesia, I would say that we are not the best in terms of handling the virus, but I think people start, they start getting to live with it. I start seeing everyone is back to the normal activity, and I agree that last year for the past 4 to 6 months, everyone, especially venture capital and investor, our focus was mainly on the portfolio companies, because we want to make sure that we focus on which one that actually the business get hurt the most with the global pandemic situation, and we want to make sure that they have enough cash, they have enough runway to run the business before they finally go out and find to meet another investors. I would say some of the business that get hurt the most, especially from our side as the investor from our portfolio, is, for example, we invested in a cross-border logistic startups, and for the first 4 to 6 months, like the world, they closed the door. So the international trade get hurt, and of course, for the company who is handling the cross-border logistic, they get hurt the most. So that's the focus for the past for the first 6 months during the COVID. But I think in Q3 itself, and then to Q4, investors start getting used to the situation. We start shifting the activity again from focusing on the portfolio to start exploring new deals. And when we talk about the new deals here, it's not necessarily that we are focusing on something that's gonna who is pandemic proof, but we're also looking for startups that actually can, we figure it out in the next 3 to 5 years they actually can thrive. So everything is back to normal, and actually we also invested in a new startups in the Q4 of 2020. That's just a proof to everyone else that investors actually start actively looking for the new deals, and there is no changes like in terms of the industry or the sector, especially from our side. I think our long-term investment thesis remains intact. This is what sector, this is what industry that we want to invest despite the COVID-19 situation. So that's pretty interesting now, and I'm really looking forward to meet with the new companies who try to digitize the economy in Indonesia.
Cool. So Siki, you're I don't know, I would call you super angel. Maybe you don't like the term, but you're a prolific supporter of entrepreneurs. It'd be amazing if you could share with everybody, what have you been thinking about in terms of it's a tough time, but the internet over the last year is extremely popular, and Mox, our model is to give free user acquisition to startups who, instead of raising a lot of money and giving all their money that they raise to Google and Facebook for ads, they get free user acquisition from us in return for a revenue share. But from your space, a lot of your customers have to be going through a tough time. So what have you kind of been seeing, both on the angel side? And then it'd also be great to hear maybe a little bit later as well what you're seeing with your customers and how you're helping them.
Yeah. Over the past year or so, if you talk to, it was obviously scary a year ago, but if you talk to investors and founders today, the market for capital is white hot. There is literally never been a better time to be an investor and a founder since I've started being a tech founder. So that's like almost 15 years. I don't know how many more weeks or months it's going to last. But when you talk to venture investors, their models for SaaS returns are just broken. So you have pre-revenue, 10K MRR companies getting 100 million plus valuations now in the Valley. It's silly, and the timing is awesome. Another thing that is happening is there is an incredible resurgence in consumer social. Clubhouse is one of them. Dispo did 200 million on a test flight, which is also a symptom of something is happening. So the timing's incredible. Never been better time to be a founder. And then the third trend is there is a clear decentralization of Silicon Valley that's been happening for obvious reasons. Taiwan is an example. Miami is another example. For a long time, many Silicon Valley investors had a thesis around there being something special in the air and the water in Silicon Valley. I mean, barely exaggerating, but that has dramatically shifted. I'm an LP in Andreessen as well as a number of smaller funds. And they're all actively looking at international deals, specifically in India is a pretty hot market for everyone involved. So, I mean, it's just, you know, despite what's going on in the world, and I've stayed in Taiwan, it is actually the most exciting time I've ever seen in technology, you know, which is saying something because a lot of things have happened over the past decade and a half.
Okay, awesome. So right now you're in Indonesia, and you know, I started investing in China in 2003. 2004 is pretty early days. You've been you know, similarly early in Indonesia. What are you seeing in terms of the market acceleration? And kind of what are the big sort of trends that you're seeing? You know, the challenge, I mean, obviously online, but you know, Indonesia is not China. Indonesia is not the US. Indonesia is Indonesia. So what are the 2 or 3 things that you think are going to be driving the market, not just over the next year, but you know, the next 5 years, even the next 10 years, because that's what it takes to build a really market-changing company?
Sure. I think everyone see Indonesia as the biggest opportunity in terms of the Southeast Asia region. We are a developing country. We have like more than 270 million people live in the country. And when I say that, because we are still in a developing country, I would say there is still so many problems that problems that lead to an opportunity for the entrepreneur, for the most innovative people to try to solve it with technology. But something that the entrepreneurs need to remember, I think, especially when they try to copycat a business that successfully happened in China, in the US, or in India, is that with a developing market situation, it's not that easy to crack. So what I've seen for the past few years, especially back in 2015, when the first time I joined the VC industry, I saw a lot of entrepreneurs who come back to Indonesia, who has the working experience in the US and in other country. They come back to Indonesia, try to copy the business which is happening in the US, in China, or in India, and then they failed. It's probably because of 2 things. One is the different market behavior, or second is it's because of the timing. Because I would say timing is critical here. Building the right product itself is not enough. You need to build it at the right time. But in terms of the market acceleration, I feel that a lot of investors, the trend actually has been happening for the past 2 and 3 years, that a lot of investors are coming to Indonesia and they want to invest in the startups in the country. We have the most number of unicorn startups right now in Southeast Asia. And under the Jokowi administration, I have to admit that I think the government is supportive enough in terms of the digital innovation. You can see from the investment climate and etc. So from the regulation perspective, that give us, especially as the foreign investor, feel comfortable to invest in the country. And in terms of the trends, I think I'm gonna look at it from the industry point of view. I'm pretty sure that there are so many interesting business or sector in Indonesia that's happening now. But I think in my perspective, I'm pretty bullish with 2 things. The first one is BNPL. Why buy now pay later I think it's going to thrive in Indonesia and Southeast Asia in general is, number one is because I think everyone knows that the credit card rate penetration in Indonesia and the whole Southeast Asia region is actually pretty low. Even like there are so many people that actually underserved from the banking perspective. And with the global sentiment like Affirm in the US, they went public, and then Klarna, which is the pioneer in this BNPL space, I heard they're also filing for the IPO. I think Southeast Asia and Indonesia in in general, we're gonna see the rise of BNPL in the next 2 or 3 years. And it's actually good for us, especially those startups that are trying to target the millennials, because they do not get the access to the credit card. And from the merchant's perspective, it's actually much more convenient because it will help them to convert from the potential buyer to the real buyers. That's the first thing. Second thing, I would say the e-commerce enabler. Why? It's because I'm pretty sure that the e-commerce penetration is also still pretty low in Indonesia. The latest data that I read, it's around 7%. Having said that, e-commerce still has a massive room to grow in this country. It might take for the next 5, 7, or maybe in the next 10 years. But those who try to invest in this space, the e-commerce enabler, whatever it is, trying to simplify the supply chain or providing the end-to-end solution for the fulfillment, I think that kind of the startups, it will thrive in the future with equally with the rise of the e-commerce and then the high penetration of the e-commerce rate in Indonesia and in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, I hit the wrong button. So, Siki, if you could just talk a little bit about, maybe 1 or 2 recent investments, if you're still investing, or maybe pick one. What was the opportunity that you saw, or why you made that investment? Generally, what are you looking for? Is it all coming through friends? Are you willing to meet people on the street and give them money? And great to understand how you think about investing. I mean, you have many investments that have done extremely well. You're an angel according to your profile in Clubhouse. That's awesome. And thanks for trying to help me get my account back. It was a stupid rookie mistake. I've been in China for like 25 years. And I put my initial Clubhouse account on my China mobile number, and when Clubhouse got blocked, I lost it. And the funny thing is, I had 3,000 odd followers when it got when I lost access to it, but it's got 6,000 something followers now, and I'm not even using it. So it's an interesting thing. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on why you invested in Clubhouse, or why you invested in. Pick your favorite company, recent investment.
Yeah, Clubhouse, I won't talk too much about, but I invested because I've known Paul for a really long time. Probably one of the more recent investments, I've done 30 deals over the past year or so. The one I did 2 months ago, it's a company called Outfit. It's fairly new. Most of my deals come in inbound. Sometimes, when a fund like Andreessen does investment, they'll save me like a little tiny chunk. So I can help out on the consumer side. Outfit is a company that I thought was really interesting. And so, I look at investments the way I try to advise some of the companies I work with on how to pitch. So fundamentally looking for like 3 things. One is an earned secret. So, what about your unique life experiences have led you to some kind of unique insight about the world that most other people just won't have, including me as an investor. And then some traction and what the product that will fill that hole. And third is how it becomes one of the biggest companies in the world, sort of this like 3-part thing. And so Outfit, I thought it was really interesting. So what the product is basically you take a picture of your bathroom, and then you go online and there's an app and you press like, what do you want your bathroom to look like? And what they'll do is they'll send you all the materials and rent you the tools and give you step-by-step instructions on an app so that you can do the whole home improvement project yourself. If you think about like, you've ever done a home improvement project, you go to like Home Depot or in the US, whatever construction shop is, like 20 times and you don't have the tools. So they'll just like do it all for you. It's all included. And what was interesting is like, one, the story was really good, right? The story is the founder's dad was an architect. He grew up as in an architect's office, and he saw his dad doing a ton of these projects. And he realized that there is like a much better way. And so my dad was an architect. I don't know how many people's dads are architects, but That is like a particularly unique, interesting earnings secret that suggests founder market fit. And then, he, even before he had it out, he was just doing things that didn't scale, right? He would mail out the tools, buy the materials themselves, do on a Google Sheets. And before he even raised a single dollar, he already had revenue and working projects. He validated the thing. And the third thing is how it becomes one of the biggest companies in the world. As it turns out, home improvement in the United States is a multi-$100 billion a year market, which I had no idea, like just a DIY part of it. And so those are the things I look for in a company. And so I thought Alpha was a particularly good example of, one, a good pitch, and two, the things I tend to look for in a company.
Awesome. And so one of the things about SOSV is we do deep tech and hard tech. And one of the hard things about hard tech is it's really hard to sell. So we work with a lot of corporates, and then one of our partners is Lowe's. So happy to hook that up if that's interesting. The funny thing is their global innovation team is based out of India. It's awesome. So Retno, I ask you a similar question. So, there are so many challenges or opportunities in Indonesia. Where are you placing your bets? You just did a couple of investments recently. Maybe pick one, or if you want to. And so what is the challenge that, people are having in Southeast Asia? And what do you think the solutions are that technology can bring?
Sure. I think what's the latest one? I would say maybe I'll talk about Sampingan. That's the latest investment we made in Indonesia. What they're doing is it's a workforce on-demand workforce solution. Basically, they provide a platform to help corporations to find freelancer to outsource the employees. And why we invest in the company is actually number one, we understand that outsourcing business is actually big in Indonesia, but no one is doing it, doing it with the technology behind it. So we saw the demand in the country. And not to mention with the current regulation, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the omnibus law, which recently just got the approval from the government. That's going to bring the tailwind for the company. It's going to give a massive opportunity because it means that corporation, especially a foreign investment who want to build or who want to set a factory or whatever it is, a business in Indonesia, the government will allow them actually to outsource their employees, and it gives them that kind of a chance. It gives something an opportunity to serve the market, and I think it's very good solution because as of now, everyone who, especially with the COVID situation, a lot of people lost their jobs, and it's not that easy to find a good quality outsourcing employees. So Sampingan is definitely bring this effectiveness, and not to mention, I think there is a scalability in terms of the future of the business. They can cover everything from the payroll, which actually they can expand into their business, and then not to mention from the SaaS perspective, that's what they actually already done. They also building the SaaS workforce management system. So those kind of end-to-end solution for the corporations that we see as a great opportunity to invest in, and we decide to invest in. In terms of the challenge, I don't know, like specifically, if you ask me of the challenge for especially for the Indonesia is as what I mentioned in the beginning. I understand we have a huge opportunity, but you guys need to remember that this country is actually a bit difficult to crack. So we see a lot of great startups manage to execute the business very well, but there are also many of them that actually fail because maybe it's timing, or maybe it's because the market is not ready yet. So especially for you guys who are trying to build a business, let's say to copy what's happening in India, for example, I think we need to make sure that this is something that can be localized. Otherwise, you're just gonna waste your time and waste your money because it's a very difficult. And not to mention, I think we really need a local approach here to invest in Indonesia or to build a business in Indonesia. Because I always believe that local problem required a local solution, and that local solution actually require a local approach. It doesn't necessarily to be a local founder, but if you have that experience put yourself as a local, then you will understand what's the problem really is and what kind of the solution that you have to bring to these people. Yeah, I think that's pretty much regulation. Don't worry about that. I think the ecosystem is getting mature. The government start understanding that there is a big opportunity, and we try to be as open as possible to foreign investor and to also foreign entrepreneurs who wants to start the business in Indonesia.
Awesome. So really appreciate that. I think we're going to open up for questions. I think we're going to try and go to the in-person audience first. Yeah. So who's got a question? So we'll kick it to the in-person audience in Taipei. Also, I don't know, just to reset the stage here. So we're coming to you live from Taipei, both inside and outside Taipei Tech Arena at MOX, SOSV, where the number, I guess the new numbers came out for 2020. I think we're the number 4 or 5 most active VC in the world. But number 3 in the world, number 5 in Asia. And what we do is at MOX is help consumer companies, mobile apps actually have positive economics. We have a Siki, who's a serial entrepreneur, also a investor, and Retno from Access in Indonesia, just talking about investing cross-border. So if you have any questions, please let Jenny know in person in our office in Taipei, and we'll start there. And then for those of you who are joining us on Clubhouse or somewhere else, maybe the team on the ground can figure out how to get a question from you. I have no idea how to make that work. This is an experiment. Really appreciate you all bearing with me. I can't even be inside the building. So actually Siki is behind me in this building right here. And I can't even go inside because Taipei, Taiwan has really great controls and they don't want me to breathe on anybody. So Jenny, do we have any questions?
Let's see. We have lots of audience outside. Anybody have questions for? Oh, you got one?
Hi, you guys. Thank you so much for sharing. Siki, I kind of have a two-parter. Siki, you have a very interesting haircut right now. Can you give us a little background on that? And then for both of you guys, obviously COVID has been hugely impactful in the global ecosystem. And it's a symptom of something bigger, larger, right? So like the question of sustainability. When you guys are vetting your investments, how much does that play into your thinking now?
Thanks for that question.
Yeah, you're going to tell the stewardess story? That was a funny one.
The what?
Well, the reason I knew you were coming to Taiwan is you posted on Facebook the flight person, asking you a question. Please share.
I got on the plane to Taipei. I sat down and I tweeted this. The stewardess walked by, looked at my hair and went, did your shaver run out of power? And she walked away before I could respond. Well, the story behind my hair is simple. I usually go to a professional person who cuts my hair. And now that, in the States, at least you hand me a pair of shavers and this is what I'm going to do to my hair. And that's why it looks like this. So
for the people on Clubhouse, like, what does it actually look like? Come
on. So imagine a normal head of hair, except half of it. Or I think the best version of this, was my friend. The old Qing Dynasty, like Chinese queue? It's like that, except like turn 90 degrees. I thought it was just like you did the wrong dome is what he said. But anyway, what was the second question? Oh, yeah. So, it's funny. So now we can talk about Clubhouse because that's probably the thing that I hear about most in relation to that question. I like to mention this as frequently as I can. I was the person who invited Andrew Chen from Andreessen to the app. And he was not the only tier 1 VC invited to the app when it was like just 20 people and it was like no rooms. And Andreessen, to their credit, was the only firm who was like, oh, this is actually a good product as opposed to this is a thing. Because most other VCs, which I won't name, but they're probably the best, as well known as Andreessen, you can probably like guess. They were like, oh, this is a flash in the pan pandemic product. And I think that's a pretty short-sighted way of looking at the world. I think there's nothing fundamentally different about what is happening with COVID other than it's an accelerant of existing trends. I think remote work and digital socialization are all things that are going to happen in the future. And so
I think we lost the audio feed for the Taipei office.
Yeah, I can't hear him.
Taipei is down. Taipei is down. Okay. Sorry, guys. We lost Taipei. I'm still outside, but inside it's a bit done. So maybe we'll wait for them to come back. Naman, can you tell them that they're down? So just to reset the room for the people on Clubhouse, we are SOSV, the Accelerator VC. We invest through our 5 accelerator programs. This is an offline event and an online event and a Clubhouse event. And sorry you can't see us, but we are in person here in Taiwan with a real live audience. And today we have a Siki, who, aside from being an angel in Clubhouse, has actually been involved in and then actually co-founded 4 different companies that exited, including the companies like Zynga and others. And his current startup Runway is backed by A16Z and Lightspeed in the US. It's focused on helping companies manage their finances. And then we got Retno for Access. I mean, she's doing some amazing things in Indonesia with the fund. And so what we're trying to do is bring back 2 different perspectives on investment. And can you guys hear us?
Testing.
Yes, we can, William.
We can hear you all the
Okay,
time.
so really, really? So thank you. I just gave another plug, and thanks for everybody for bearing with us during this technical difficulty. When we run an experiment, we try and break everything. Because as I told my team earlier today, you can't make an omelet if you don't break some freaking eggs. So, Sigi, you want to start back up?
He just finished a very amazing answer. You guys don't have to watch it live restream from Facebook. So we're jumping.
Okay, fine. Yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah, the people who are online, if they really want the answer, they will find it. Awesome. So do we have another question from
from in Taipei? Any more questions? I see a hand over there.
Hi, this is Jerry from Market Capital, based in LA, early stage venture fund. I'm wondering that, especially for Siki, because you're a super angel, but also LP, some of the funds, right? Regarding of portfolio management, you've been investing in a lot of different companies. So wondering how do you just mentioned how do you evaluate the company, right? Just wondering how do you do portfolio management for the companies and for the funds? Thank you.
Yeah, so it's really simple. I don't. I mean, I'm not a professional investor. I'm still a tech founder primarily. I invest for fun. It just happens to have worked out really well. And so that is actually my primary metric, and it's why I haven't raised a small fund or rolling fund, or as is fashion with a lot of people in Silicon Valley, because it's my money and I can do whatever I want with it. And sometimes, it just seems like a terrible idea, but I like the person and I will invest. Sometimes I just find the idea really, really fun, and I just want to hear more about it. And as I execute, I'll invest. And so it's not super sophisticated. I have found that being in Silicon Valley, anytime I have passed on a deal of one of my smart friends every time I regret it. And so it's really not that sophisticated. It's not a professional fund. I don't recommend. But some questions I do look for is, one is there founder market fit, right? Is there some kind of unique or secret about the world that this person, based because they're just a different person than I am, have a different set of experiences, know something that very few people do? And the other biggest question is, just like most venture funds, the most important thing is you're looking for anything that can become one of the biggest companies in the world, right? So, when I worked for Mark Pincus at Zynga, he told me something that I'll always remember, which is most people want to think about all the ways in which things can go wrong. And there's enough people like that in the world, and most people are like that. He likes to spend a lot of time trying to figure out what happens if everything goes right? Because if you optimize on that, you can have extraordinary returns, and that's where most of the returns of any given fund is. So that's the two things I'm looking for. Is can I draw that picture to how it becomes a Clubhouse or Facebook or Uber? And can this person, do I feel that this person can get there? Right? Does this person have that kind of vision and ambition and charisma to be able to, and skill set to be able to rally a team around to accomplish that? And that's about it.
So just popping in, Retno, I'd love to hear your view on how do you apply that in Indonesia, because or Southeast Asia is not one market. Indonesia is also not one market. It's like a giant archipelago of shit ton of islands with a bunch of different languages, and it's not all the same. So what do you look for? Because there's a lot of money around. There's a bunch of entrepreneurs around, but it's an amazingly diverse market. Everybody thinks Indonesia is one thing. It's not. So I'd love to hear your view on that.
William, sorry, I lost you for the past 10 seconds. Can you repeat again?
If you answer the same question as Siki did. So the question is, Indonesia is not just one market; it's many markets. Indonesia has a huge income disparity, right? Mm-hmm. And so, kind of when you're looking at the market in Indonesia, kind of what do you look for, and what makes you invest? It's probably a little bit different than what Siki said, but I'm not going to put words in your mouth. Just love to hear your views on what drives you to pull the trigger.
Yeah, I agree with the fact that Indonesia itself is very diverse. But if you look at the trend, the startups or the tech companies, it's actually still pretty much concentrated in the Java island. But of course, we are looking for something that can serve the entire country. And I would say that what we are looking for is it's number one, of course, on the founder side, because it's not only that the founder who understand the problems or who have a idea what kind of the products that they have to build or they have to sell, but I think it's the one who is, smart is one thing, but we also want someone who has a grit, because being an entrepreneur is tough. Sometimes people, they were born as an entrepreneur, but some of them, they might not, but they have that ambition to be the founder or to be an entrepreneur. So we really look at the founders, number one, of course, and that is why whenever I do the due diligence, the last part of the due diligence is I will always do the background checking. And it actually happened. We like the market, we like the products, we thought that the business is actually doing pretty well for the early stage startups. But the last piece, when I did the background checking, I found a red flag on the founder, and we decided to withdraw from the deal. Not withdraw that as in we already made the commitment, but that last thing actually made us to decide that, okay, we're not going to invest in this company, because we want to invest in a founder that has an integrity for sure, and we do not want any red flag background from his past experience or her past experience. And but I think number two, that is also very important. I do not want to talk about the market opportunity because everyone knows about that. It's I think it's the scalability itself. even though Indonesia is already huge, but we want to see something that actually can be implemented in other countries, because that's the main reason, or that's the key points for the startups to be successful, in my opinion. I might be wrong, as anyone else might have a different opinion. So, for example, when I found this company called Credolab, an AI-driven credit scoring company based in Singapore, why we really like the startups or the product is because when we look at the company, actually it's very easy for them to scale or to expand to another market. Why? Because this AI-driven credit scoring is something that we believe actually can be used by anyone, by any institution, and it doesn't require a localization. And that's proven because the company itself already has clients in 16 countries across the globe, without having to, to customize the product. They just simply talk to any financial institution, can be a banking or startups in a peer-to-peer lending, etc. And they can simply integrate their solution and they can use it. And I think we're also looking at the global trend. We also really like the company is because we saw a lot of global players like Google, Microsoft, IBM, Amazon. They're also betting a lot for AI in a fintech industry. So the right founder and also the product that can scale globally, that's the two most important things that we always looking when we want to invest in the startups.
Awesome. So I don't know, we're going to try and experiment with this thing. If anybody in the Clubhouse audience has a question, please raise your hand. And I will, I'm not actually sure I can connect you directly to the speakers, but I can listen to your question and relay it on. So if anybody wants to, to ask a question, let's try for it. In the meantime, so just to reset, we're in Taipei here, joining in from Jakarta and Taipei. Just like to ask one last question from the audience.
We have a few questions online, so I'm passing back from Taipei to Naaman online. Naaman?
Okay, Naaman, let's go for it.
Thank you, Jenny. Thanks, William. Gerard, over to you. Let's take your question.
Okay, sure. Hi, Ratna. Just I think you kind of did maybe partially answer this in your last statement, but just wanted to ask you about your buy now, pay later thesis. How are merchants and startups in Indonesia handling the working capital issues that would emerge by extending credit? And isn't this, if anyone starts doing this, don't they get into the collection and recovery business model as well to the, they're adding that business model onto their existing business model. So I know AI would come in, credit scoring would come in, but in developing countries with credit card penetration being low and, a lot of people being unbanked, how are Indonesian companies solving that?
Sure, great question. Number one is on the working capital. So from the merchant's perspective, actually, they do not have to worry anything about the working capital, because here's my understanding. When you work with a startups to provide the BNPL, the startups actually will pay you upfront for the merchants. And then so the startups will, they need to cover the risk. The risk is 100% on their side. There is no risk on the merchant side. And that is why even though the merchants, they're going to be charged by around, I think 3%, which is slightly higher than the credit card. They're okay to do that because number one, as I mentioned, it lead to the conversion. And number two, there is no risk from their side. From the startups perspective, from their side, actually, they're going to have to work with any financial institution that can provide them with the lending capital. And that's completely different fund from what they have to raise from the investor or venture capital, because the fund that they raise from the investor and venture capital should be used for the operating expense only. While to cover this credit that they have to pay upfront to the merchants, then they should find the financial institution who are willing to provide them lending capital. And from that point of view, they're gonna share the revenue. They're gonna split the revenue. Now come to the second questions on the, I think it's more on the risk side from the startups that yes, there's always a risk, especially on how the people will pay them, will pay back the customer, how they will pay back. You mentioned about the collection, and that's right. But I think collection will only happen on the default rate. So usually the BNPL, they're gonna let customers to split the payment 3 times or 4 times. And then at specific date, the customer either they will deduct it directly from your debit card if you provide the debit card, or you should make the payment, right, on every month. But if it's, let's say they make a late payment for 30 days or 60 days or 90 days, my understanding so far, yes, they're gonna work with third party for the collection. So, like every business always comes with a risk, because there is nothing that a free risk, right? But my understanding so far, it's been doing pretty well. A lot of people actually make payment on time, and the default rate it's still less than 1% or less than 2%, and that is why we are still pretty bullish with the sector.
Oh, I just realized that we disabled raise hands for Clubhouse people, so I apologize for that. But do we have any other questions? I just turned on raise hands for the people in Clubhouse, but if anybody else has any questions?
No more questions from the online audience, William. We're good.
Okay. So,
we also don't have questions on site as well. So I think it's a great experiment. We'll continue to experiment. Thank you so much for
we have one from Clubhouse. Let's give it a shot, if you don't mind. Just once. I don't know. We've never done this before. It's an experience. And the funny thing is, behind me, there's a bunch of high school students trying to work out their Taiwan dance routines. I don't know if you can hear it. But Gareth, we're gonna try and figure this out. Okay. Give me one.
Okay, now see what you do. I think he's coming here. He's listening from Clubhouse. You can hear us. Oh, really? So guys, while William is trying to get questions from Clubhouse online, William, you got a question?
Okay, so I'm gonna do my best. Yeah, it's a bit of a mess here, but we'll do our best. So the first part of the question is, in Indonesia or across markets, how do you manage risk? There's economic risk, of course, but there's also political risk. So, as you're investing cross-border, how do you manage that risk, or are you even thinking about that risk? For our companies, what we're doing is that we invest in early stage startups. We do the best that we can, and we try and focus on building businesses that solve problems for people. And we don't try. We try and stay very far away from politics. I'd love to throw it out to Siki and Retno if you have a short answer before we wrap this up on the offline side, because the offline side is going to have a networking party, and then we'll hang out on the online party, because I can't actually go into the offline party, so I'll be hanging out with you guys. So yes, Siki, do you actually give a shit about political risk or no?
I probably should that my own company was shut down by the United States Congress, but I don't. I mean, I've seen risk lead to extreme returns, right? Like Uber had an amazing expansion curve because they really ignored it. And there is a thing where if you build something really, really useful, you get penetration fast enough, that the world has to adjust with you. And that is part of the job of being an early stage investor. You want to take that risk with the founder, and if it works out, you get extraordinary returns. If it doesn't, then you lose your money.
Awesome. I'll chime in on that. So our founder at SOSV, Sean O'Sullivan, actually, we have the patent for ride sharing in America, right? And so he patented it. But ideas are like assholes. Execution is key. Ideas are like assholes. Everyone's got one. So he did not want to break that law, and Uber and Lyft decided to go for it. So I really appreciate that answer. And with that, I think we're going to move on from this experiment. Jenny, I'm going to kick it back to you. And Siki and Retno, I really appreciate you being part of this amazing experiment. I'm going to be out here and probably hanging out in Clubhouse because nobody wants to go hang outside. I'm getting killed by mosquitoes out here. But Siki, really appreciate you hanging out inside. And Retno, if you could join us in the Clubhouse, we can just hang out with the people there. So Jenny, I'm going to kick it back to you. Thank you so much for the audience, wherever you are.
Thank you so much.
I'll join on Clubhouse.
Yeah, thank you so much. So for the people in Taipei, feel free to mingle with Squid over here and with everybody. Thank you so much for the panels. Give us back. Okay, that's it. So it's a wrap on the outside, and feel free. Yes, he has unlimited power. So guys, feel free to grab a drink over there, and for those online.
Hey folks, we're going to wrap up the Zoom link now. You want to continue with the conversations, please head over to Clubhouse. We'll see you over there.